we're going to go through ours, but the other 29, we're going to go through once Matt
After.
presents.
Right, after August 15th.
Right.
Which we'll discuss
That's
next
what's going
month.
to take the time.
Which we'll discuss next month.
So do you want to have a meeting on July 1st for ours?
I think so.
July 1st.
It's the first
It's
Tuesday.
the first Tuesday.
Which is a free night.
Ryan's
For you.
Well,
they have air conditioning.
It's not in the budget. Does that work for, Duke, does that work for you? Okay.
6 o'clock
Sure.
earlier?
6 is fine.
6?
6.
And we'll get that Excel sheet, the revised one. Okay. And if everyone wants to know, in advance before we get that sheet, we can look at the budget policy and procedure that we passed last month. That'll outline what's actually in our budget moving forward. Any other questions on that item? All right. The next one is the independent auditor. As per the charter, we're tasked with auditing, and I spoke with Matt as I'd like to work with the executive and the legislature, be united. We were thinking of, and this is a suggestion, doing an RFP and having a committee to review those of the budget and finance chair, the executive, the treasurer, the chairman of the legislature, and another member of the legislature to review those as it is our duty test through the charter to hire.
Is this the independent auditor?
Yes, the independent
Oh, we
auditor.
have to volunteer.
You will?
I'm happy to hear it.
You're happy to hear it?
Absolutely. I don't understand why we didn't act on that sooner.
And the audit for 2013 should be coming out within the next couple of months. Is that correct, Sean? Okay. So do we need to make a resolution? We should
If you're going to do a
to have,
committee of some sort.
well, and also to task the executive with the RFP process. I don't know.
I mean, we've always done resolutions for RFPs, so.
So
If you're going to have if you're going to have an RFP to do an independent audit,
Mhm.
you just have just create a resolution that says we want to have an RFP. You don't need a resolution for a committee.
Right,
It's our job.
right,
Right?
right. So you'll,
Are you going to do a resolution
Yeah.
tonight in
Yeah.
this committee?
Yeah.
You need sponsoring it.
I'll sponsor it.
I'll second it.
Um, All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstained? The other one is the budget transfer as per the local law that is on the books from 2011. The charter tasks the budget officer with approving the transfers, but we are supposed to be supplied with an aggregate of the transfers for the year. So in talking with Sean and Matt, we've compiled a spreadsheet that has those aggregate numbers, and it's broken out by department with a total on the right-hand side. This is how we'll be getting the budget transfers from here on out with the month's transfers along with the aggregate amounts. And also talking with the executive, we're working on strengthening the transfer, budget transfer law, and talking about putting a cap on the total amount that can be transferred from one item to another item. Something that we've seen is, there are some departments that have transferred out amounts that are, and they're following the law, but they have moved money around to fill positions that initially through the budget process were not filled.
I just want to throw this out there, and it's going to sound like a question, but I don't think anybody here can answer it because we weren't around. It's my understanding that the previous local law that this amended was you could only transfer between a 2-line and a 4-line. And I was, I'm just sort of questioning why it was expanded to be 1, 2, 4, 6, 7, and 8. And, possibly if we want to eliminate one from the local law.
As we all know, the former form of government was dysfunctional and there were a lot of vendettas. In my discussions with Sean.
Kind of give you an update. The change in the local law was it became more restrictive. The prior local law, there was no dollar threshold when you were going like from point 4 to point 4. That was an unlimited amount you could transfer. But the old local law also stated that the maximum you could transfer between lines, between like point 2 and 4, point 1 and 4, was 5,000. But when you went between the same lines, for like point 2 to point 2 or point 4 to point 4, that number based on the old local law was an unlimited amount as long as possible. The new local law passed in 11. It restricted all transfers to the 5,000.
Man. Do you know why it was added that you could transfer between point 1 and why the other lines were added?
You could always do that.
Oh, you could?
You could always do that. You could always go between lines up to a $5,000 limit.
Okay.
But this local law is just tightened it that you, within the same lines, limit it to 5,000, where
Okay.
before it was unlimited.
Okay, great, thank you.
And
I think you hit one thing on the head though, and maybe Sean can help a little bit, and I think you're right. There were positions in this budget that we're in right now that were not approved at budget time. So what we do now is we transfer money into those blank lines in the budget and create the positions. Am I right or am I?
Well, in the situation that's occurring this year is there's a particular line that is not filled. And he is using that money for a different item.
Right.
So he's not really circumventing the system that he's hiring an additional person. He has the same number of positions that were budgeted, but he's just simply moving the money from one title to another title.
I think there was a position that wasn't approved though, the money's going to. No?
I don't know if it's not approved, like I said.
Oh, it wasn't in the budget.
The process is, it goes through the personnel office as far as the process of, they have to do a request to fill vacancy. That'll be approved through that process, and through the transfer process is how we fund the position.
Right, but through the budget process, if it's rejected, it's rejected. So if somebody comes in and says, hey, Matt, I need a position, A, Matt says, no, I'm not going to do that. But there's money in the budget, and you take it someplace else and put it into that line, you from the position. Just say it could happen.
Yeah, but like, this, and I'm not defending them, but the situation is, you have here is, you agreed and funded a higher position in the budget. He is doing transfers for a lower position.
It wasn't approved.
Correct. But the higher position was approved.
So the executive and I will work on figuring out what, without infringing on anybody's authority, to correct the situation. Just wanted to make you aware. Any other discussion on that? So moving on to the resolutions that are on the agenda. I need a sponsor and a second for a resolution amending the 2014 budget, Civil Service Office.
Motion.
I'll second it.
Discussion? All those in favor of moving to full board?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained? Okay. Next is a resolution amending the 2014 operating budget, workers' compensation. I need a sponsor and a second.
Sponsor.
Second.
Discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, motion carried. The next is a resolution amending 2014 budget and establishing position of Director of Labor Management Relations. Quackenbush is a sponsor. I need a second. Roy. Discussion? Terry?
I just want to say, because last meeting I was vocal against this, I did meet with the county executive and we sat down and he explained his thought behind this position. And he made me aware of some personnel issues that are going on with certain departments, and that he is hoping that this position would clean that up. And then my concern was, well, you're taking responsibilities away from the department head. He said, but he's, and what he told me, he would like to see them do other things if more of their personnel is moved to the labor management position. So in saying that, I'm going to support it now. However, I'm going to monitor this because if it doesn't work, then there's no need to have it. So, but I will support it.
Alex?
Just a quick question. The amount that we're transferring is a little over $29,000. So does that mean, since the year is almost half over, that the position is actually going to be almost $60,000 a year?
Yep.
I just want to make that clear to everybody. And he appears to be taking it from the hospital medical insurance line. I'm just wondering, Sean, if you could help me out, is that a line item where they over budgeted? Or?
Just to give you a little idea of what happened. Last year at budget time, the health insurance budget was put forward in the tentative budget. Meditech did come and did a presentation to the board at budget time. Their numbers were considerably lower than what had been submitted originally. But what happened, the budget was adopted and the health insurance budget was never changed. So in essence, there was additional money budgeted in the health insurance for 2014.
Okay.
I'm sorry, Shem, how much additional money was budgeted?
I don't have the exact amount, but it was around, I'm going to say, like I said, I can't right off the top of my head, it was somewhere in the range of 150 to 200.
Because that is the line item we've been transferring for. That's what I questioned last meeting.
Right. And I can go back and look at the budget material and get you the exact numbers.
That'd be helpful, thank you.
Any other questions? discussion? I would just like to add on, as legislator Beniak has said, the executive has made it aware to the legislature that he feels that this will provide a cost savings to the county. And in moving forward, an effort to support him, I would like to also show support, even though I wasn't in favor of it in the past, but I will be keeping an eye on its benefit to the county. So, all those in, any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Motion carried. Next is a resolution amending 2014 operating budget, 2013 flood disaster. I need a sponsor and a second.
Sponsor.
I'll second it.
Discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Abstain? Sorry. Opposed? Abstain? Carried. Next is a resolution amending 2014 operating budget, 2014-15 lead grant COLA award. I need a sponsor and a second.
Sponsor.
Second.
It's a lead.
Say that fast 3 times.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Carried.
Maybe you're feeling effective.
The next is a resolution stating support for location, approval, and operation of a casino adjacent to Exit 27 of the New York State Thruway.
Sponsor.
Roy?
I'll second.
Discussion?
I just want to say, a number of us were at the meeting last night in the town of Florida. And I've attended a number of public hearings in a number of communities. I've never seen one so supportive. So that was gratifying. And I know this is something that we're all going to be behind too.
Any other?
I just want to reemphasize some of the things Matt said last night. Basically, in reference to the other proposed sites. Schenectady and Rensselaer, both on floodplains. So how they're going to mitigate that, I don't know if that's part of their budgeted price or to construct it. Thompson Hill and East Greenbush, the residents don't want it. They're vehemently opposed to it. I believe that only leaves Howe Caverns, who still hasn't even announced a partner investment for developer. So I think, without any doubt at all, Amsterdam site is the most favorable site that I've seen. And would have the greatest impact.
I do have a couple of questions that cause me to hesitate. I would like to know what our involvement is after this resolution gets approved. What will be our action moving forward? Will we be involved in the negotiation of pilot programs and you know, I'm a little hesitant on is this we're just pushing it off and saying we support it and leaving it to be an orphan. You know, I'd like to see how much we would be involved in the
Well,
process.
I know for one thing, this particular resolution is not required. I think we're doing it just to show that we, as a county, support the siting of that specifically designed casino in that specific location. As far as that RFA, I believe the minimum investment, I would think that would be exclusive of any type of aid that they request. So that basically they'd have to spend more than that in order to obtain any aid. I believe from here on out, it's really, it's in their court, involved the developer.
All those in favor of moving to full board?
Aye.
Against? Abstain? Carried. Resolution amending 2014 operating budget, insurance deductible. Can I get a sponsor?
Sponsor.
Second? Terry?
Second, with discussion.
Yes, discussion.
Okay. My question is, do we have a county practice or county policy with the insurance deductibles? The reason I ask is because through accident, I was talking to Paul Claiborne, and he was telling me about the two Grados that got vandalized, and that he would have to pay the deductible. And I said, oh, really? I said, well, we got one coming out of the sheriff's office, and that's going to be taken out of the general fund. But he said that he pays all his deductibles. So I don't know if that's really fair for him to pay them all, and then with other departments, we take it out of the general fund. I don't know who can answer that. Is it Sean or?
I said, I don't know what you're referring to with the sheriff, but I know in the case where you're dealing with vehicles, I know if the sheriff does damaging a vehicle, his budget does pay the deductible. I don't know this particular situation you're saying where
Well,
the sheriff's department is the deductible for the sheriff's department
So-
paid out of the general. But historically, like I said, most of the deductibles that the individual departments pay, it has to deal with damaged vehicles of some sort.
for property. But if it's personal, like a personal claim, or, so that comes out of the general fund?
I really don't know.
I haven't seen the backup to this resolution, but if it's what I'm thinking it is not a property damage situation. It was a resolution of a personal claim against the county. The line item exists and is funded. We have had this situation. I'm not saying there isn't a better way of doing it, but we've had this situation numerous times over the years where you don't know going into the year how much money you're going to spend in that regard. It depends on what happens with cases that are pending and the timeliness of it. And sometimes that line item runs out of money. And to resolve it, the deductible has to come from somewhere, and I think what's looked to at a given point in time is what's most feasible to take it from. I've seen it taken from various different line items over the years, contingency or fund balance, what have you. Evidently, this is what was
Like I said,
recommended.
because this particular, I don't know the details, I didn't see any backup on this resolution, but this particular resolution is not transferring money into the insurance line to pay travelers. It's being transferred into the judgments and claims.
Yes,
professional
right,
services.
That's right.
Right,
That's
right.
right.
So we have a separate line item for that.
Now, this transfer, you guys don't mind me telling you, is to pay travelers for two deductibles from two claims one is from 2010 and one is from 2011. They were two lawsuits, so we're paying the deductibles.
So it's prior year claims that were never budgeted in the 2014
Correct.
budget. That's why they're big contingency. All right.
And I'm not so sure it's being transferred into the line.
It's just a question on
Like
the,
the transfer into like a professional services line,
Yes.
it's more like to pay an attorney.
Attorney, yeah.
Ryan?
If this gets passed on to full board, it's going to require 2/3, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
I'm comfortable moving it forward to the full board, but I'd like to get a little bit more information from Cheryl as to why those line items were chosen. Maybe there's more details that,
Yeah, I see, I'm familiar with both of these cases, and...
I guess it's always been my understanding, and maybe Sean can help me with this, that like a claim, a notice of claim from the on the county has always come out of the insurance line that was in the Board of Supervisors, but now is the county executive Board of Legislature budget. And that's where the money was budgeted. Now going forward, you guys could choose to put a different account and put it someplace else in the 2015 budget.
Any other discussion?
I just make a
Yep.
comment. I don't handle the budget, but it does strike me as odd, given the nature of the claims here, that this would be paid out of professional services rather than judgments and claims.
That's what I'm saying, I think where it's being transferred to might not be correct.
Okay.
I'm trying to,
It is not appropriately the payment for professional services. It's the deductible on two personal claims against the county, which Ravelers has resolved.
So then, do we table this until next month, or?
I don't think we table it, I can just look it up tomorrow and let Cheryl know the proper account where it should go to.
That's the account that Scott had given me that we've always taken it out of.
No, now
The
that you,
1930.
Health and insurance. Or hospitalization insurance.
I mean, I think I'd be comfortable moving into full board, but,
Yeah, we can
with
we can rectify
clarification
that.
or else.
Let's move it to full board so we take care of it.
Yeah.
so we can always get more information and amend it at full board.
per the policies, there are timeframes by which the deductibles are supposed to be reimbursed to the carrier after they're paid. So I would recommend not waiting another month unless you
Okay.
decide next week that it's inappropriate to pay it at all.
All those in favor of moving to full board?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, carried. Next is a resolution amending 2014 budget for New York State Indigent Legal Service Grant. Can I get a sponsor? A second?
Second.
Discussion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Abstain? Opposed, abstain? Carried. Next is a resolution approving abstract of audit claims. Can I get a sponsor?
Sponsored.
Second?
Second.
Discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, carried. The dreaded last resolution. A resolution appointing member to the audit committee. I'll sponsor it.
I'll second it.
Whose turn?
I think you should do it for 2 minutes.
Mr.
You don't
Chairman,
have to do it the same month.
I'll serve, but I have to tell you, I've always wondered about this whole notion of having legislators serving and conducting that audit, and in terms of our actual ability to do a proper audit. I assume that when we go there, we're just checking some random purchase orders and payments and making sure that some of the numbers match up. Is that? And I think in the past, the Board of Supervisors actually had a professional auditor performing those functions, and I think that makes a little more sense. But I'll sit in this week and I think have more to say as time goes on.
Okay. Thank you for your service.
Well, I got to tell you, this is the reason that I have not been volunteering in the past, but I think it's time to address the issue.
All those in favor of moving the resolution School Board?
With legislator
With-
Jesse's name.
yes. Yes.
Yeah, I was hoping that putting my name forward would change your position.
No such luck.
Opposed, abstained. All right. Anything else to come before the committee?
Do we want to discuss the
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Good.
Executive session?
I
Motion.
suggest that we do it.
I'll second.
Wait, what is that?
We went
Make a
into
motion to
executive
go to
session.
executive session to discuss the,
To discuss the
Property.
potential sale of real property.
Who sponsored?
Tom, I seconded it.
we're in committee, so
Well,
we'll be able to take that.
but we'd be able to.
Well, let me ask another way. Is there a reason that it has to be an executive session?
The potential value or sale price of the property, or how the sale of the property is going to be conducted, could be affected by public disclosure of the information relating to the method and the interested parties. This involves, for your benefit, I realize, I know you weren't here last week, this involves 3 parcels that were in the county tax auction last month.
Is the discussion going to be based on the bids that took place, or is there more information that's been presented?
Well, it would involve discussion, I would anticipate, of the bids that took place. Those are public record. There was an issue discussed last week with respect to how to go about selling the properties, given what happened in the auction, and determining a value and/or sale price for them, and whether it would be done one at a time or in a cluster of 3 parcels for one price. And we came away from the executive session in last week's Physical Services Committee meeting, I'm using the old name, with me to follow up, to gather some more information so that the legislature would be in a better position to address the situation. And I have some additional information. It really dovetails with this session that was held last week, and however many of, I think, 7 or 8 legislators were there, although but we're all on the committee.
Can I request that if we do go into executive session, that
Okay, so this vote is simply going to be whether or not to go into executive session?
Yes. All those in favor of going into executive session?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained?
Opposed.
Okay, go.
Motion to go out of executive session.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained?
Aye.
I think you should have told them 200,000.
I know. I know. I should have bet you guys all that
They're all
that would have
gone?
been the number.
Okay, so we need a resolution to reject the, well, first we have to pull it off the table, right?
I make a motion to reject the bid of parcel 43 in the auction and in the same resolution, accept an offer.
Nobody out there? No. I'm sorry.
In the same resolution, accept the offer Is it-
Of the,
All the ones that
With all the conditions in terms.
Guano Holdings LLC to sell tax parcels or auction parcels 41, 42, and 43 for a combined sum of $185,000. I don't know if you want that figure in the heading of it or not, but it'll obviously be in the body of it.
Could you just send us the resolution
Is
at a time?
there a second?
I'm sorry.
Oh, well, you'll...
I second it.
Discussion?
Don't we have to put the, oh, sorry. Again, like to say, now you go to the town board meetings, there's not much protocol, so I'd like to stand on some protocol here. So we're going to, in the resolution, say that parcels will be combined as one, and back any other taxes owed by the purchaser needs to be paid prior to the transfer of title.
Correct.
Yes. Do you think we, just a discussion, do you think we ought to combine them while we own them now?
Yes, I do.
Yeah.
Ask that to go through and have that request made to the assessor's office, and I don't know how quickly they would act on it.
Who would sign that form? Would I, as treasurer, holding the property?
Mm,
Yeah, I would say so.
I can get that form filled out tomorrow.
Okay.
Good.
Okay.
Doug, could we just, when you have, I'm assuming you're going to create the resolution, just email it to everybody prior so we can look at it in case there's any questions or changes or anything? So we don't need to do it on meeting night?
Keep in mind, I need to have it, so I have the packet published by Friday. So
Right.
you
just-
have 2 days, Doug.
Yeah.
We might have to work the weekend.
Any other discussion on the matter? All those in favor of moving to full board?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, carried. Any other items to come before the Budget and Finance Committee?
Motion to adjourn?
Second?
So anybody can